The Riven Realms, they call it. What a fine poetic name for something as rotten and twisted as our land has become. It was not always so. Long ago, the old empire, the noblest and most enduring society created by humankind, spanned almost the entire continent of Seren, the cradle of man. But after several millennia of progress and incomparable achievements, inevitably, the empire began to fall into stagnation and decadence. Desperately holding on to their privileges and resisting change while trying to avert the collapse of the realm, the emperor and his theocracy took to measures that were worthy of true despots in cruelty. Subjugating weaker realms, enslaving whole nations, strip mining foreign resources, oppressing imperial citizens, war on several fronts, genocide. Eventually, the gods could no longer tolerate such horrors wrought in their name. Foretold by an abundance of divine omens, they descended upon the empire to right its wrongs. Thus, in a chain of dreadful events that became known as the Calamity, they annihilated the empire in a matter of days. The gods then finally saw what they had done in their anger and confusion. It is said that so much grief and shame filled them that they were broken and they left this reality, never to return. The continent and its inhabitants seemed dead, but at length survivors began to crawl out of their hiding holes and faced a land that no longer welcomed them. Arcane anomalies, the fallout of the Calamity, now riddled the continent, and people realized that they had to share their new home with changed and twisted creatures. Terrible beings entered through the cracks in the tapestry of reality and rose to rule over the natives. In time, these new powers rebuilt the fallen empire in their own image, and the Riven Realms, now godless and vengeful, reincarnated from the ashes. The inhabitants of the land, such as I, now eke out a living under the crushing rule of the new empire. The continent itself constantly resists our every attempt at building a cozy home for ourselves. As travel is dangerous, many ventures specialize in transferring cargo and passengers over bleak and deadly leagues of land. Others try to take everything of value from said travelers, or attempt to find buried treasures among the ruins of the old empire. The leaders of the endeavors are, some say, the bravest men and women of the Riven Realms. Such a leader is called a Vagrus.
Brilliant intro story that also taught me I've been saying it wrong. It's Vagrus, not Vagrus. You know. Yeah, this is the game. We're going to get into it here. We're going to start a new campaign. So we have Wasteland mode. This is the way Vagrus was intended to be played by the developers. The setting is a cruel, harsh, forgiving place, or unforgiving place, and so the game will not pull any punches. Expect a steep difficulty curve and little to no hand-holding. Save often because you will probably run into dead ends and deaths from time to time. So achievements and everything are disabled in this mode. We're going to go to Wasteland mode because, as I've talked about in other intros, this game is meant to be difficult, and I signed up for this. So I talked to the developers. They were nice to send over a copy of the game for me to showcase. I talked to them. I came into this knowing that it was going to be a difficult game, so I'm not one to chicken out. So I'm going to go to Wasteland mode. I think I'm prepared. Really, I think I am. This is the kind of game I live and breathe, so I think I'm prepared. I think I'll do pretty well with this. That is, however, the famous last words.
Ah, yes. A Vagrus. What a profession. Daring and savvy, always watching the horizon, always looking for an opportunity, and of course, for what is best for his comitatus, eh? And you are a Vagrus too, are you not? Many of your kind have I seen in my long life as a vagabond. Care to listen to a story about your exquisite occupation, good master? It is a tale of woe and terror, but it is also a tale that is true, as I have seen it with mine own eyes.
We're going to be playing Pilgrims of the Wasteland here?
Wise you are, good master. My tale is of a Vagrus, such as yourself, but one whose fate was cursed and wrought with ill fortune. It all happened a long time ago. 10 years, maybe more. I was but a passenger, traveling rough roads and forgotten ways with this comitatus, south along the feet of the great mountains of the west.
Because it does seem like it offers some lore and story to the game.
This
We're gonna be trying
comitatus
it
I
out.
speak of had fallen under hard times. Perhaps it was due to imperial harassment or unfortunate decisions, or simply bad luck. Franz, saint of roads, does not always smile on us mere mortals. But however it came to pass, their coin was drying up, and their opportunities seemed few and far between. One of the last chances their Vagrus saw was to travel to the remote town of Scrap Heap and spend their remaining funds to stock up on cheap scrap metal. This metal could be sold for great profit over in the east and south. It wasn't a bad plan, truly, but it was not without risks either.
Hold space, okay. Welcome to Pilgrims of the Wasteland, a standalone story of Vagrus the Riven Realms. It serves as an introduction to the setting and also as a tutorial to the game. It behooves you to read the tutorial text and follow the instructions to get a better understanding of how the game works. The waypoint icon can be clicked in tutorial windows to show what the section is referring to via a pointer. Note that you have to be on the right UI screen for the pointer to appear, although Vagrus is an open world game. I will get used to saying Vagrus and not Vagrus. Due to Pilgrims of the Wasteland being a tutorial, it progresses along a narrow, guided path. In the beginning, it opens up only later, as the core mechanics have been introduced. You can access the hotkey list by pressing F11. On the campaign map, your comitatus, your traveling company, always occupies a node and moves between nodes through paths. Moving along paths costs movement points. Okay, you can't do like other games and hover over the yellow text. Okay, indicated next to each path. Every in-game day, you have a number of movement points to spend before you need to camp. To move, click on a nearby node and select Move from the radial menu. You can select a node that is farther away. The MP calls to moving there will be calculated in the path highlighted. Move to Scrap Heap. Most of the story is presented through interactive texts called events. Events let you make different choices at each step. Some choices can have a number of consequences, while others have various dependencies. Dependencies mean that you can only pick a certain choice if you have the right prerequisite. Skills, perks, characters, and so on. To select a choice, click on it or use 1 to 9 to select the one you like. So there are 4 choices in this one. Having gone ahead of the column with a handful of scouts, you watch from afar as your comitatus slowly trudges along broken terrain, making its way south ponderously among dormant geysers. All around you, the hills smolder lazily in the perpetual twilight. Are you alright? Javik's voice resonates with sympathy as he appears next to you on the ridge. You nod slowly, but do not look at him. Your gaze lost in the distance where ash close to the horizon of the towering mountains to the south and west. You turn to your Kulmes, saying that right, and note his supportive smile. You and Javik have been traveling the realms together for years now. There's no person in the world you trust more than him, except perhaps yourself. I know you feel that your hands are tied, but like I said before, you made the right choice by leading us here. With 4 choices here, time will tell, but I still have my doubts. It's a long shot and you know it. There wasn't much of a choice, either this or returning my trading license and hanging myself. It has to work. We cannot fail not like this. Or thank you, but the last thing I need right now is a clumsy pep talk, even if it is well meant. We're gonna do the first one. Javik nods. True, but it's better than just giving up. The crew agrees too. That counts for something, no? It does, yes. Good to know that they still have faith in me as their Vagrus. Or perhaps they're just as desperate as I am. I'm not going to be the cynic. Typically I would be, but I'm not going to be the cynic. It does, yes. Good to know that they... Okay. They do have faith in you still, Javik says. It should not come as a surprise, and you have known and traveled with most of them for years and years. Some founding members of the Comitatus you could trust with your life, but you have heard stories before about Vagrai, who have been abandoned for less. Times being what they are, Javik trails off, with Imperials cracking down on us independents more heavily than before. Business is tough, everyone knows, and they appreciate your efforts to keep us floating. Our plan ought to give us another chance. The plan, you talked to your traveling company into this a few weeks ago, but with each step toward the western mountains, more and more of them have started to have doubts, such as the way of the road, perhaps. The plan involves a desperate attempt at squeezing a low selling price from metal bits out of an old contact of yours in the town of Scrap Heap, stocking up on said metal by spending your remaining coin and bringing the cargo down south toward the molten tongue to Devon via Avernum and Ash. There's a shortage of metal in Devon, and you know several buyers who will give a pretty price for your goods if you can only make it there, or for many others with a similar cargo do. Such contacts are the boon of the long decades spent on the road, but even if Narbo, that villain, gave you an agreeable price in Scrap Heap, the road is not without its perils. Sneaking through the gap between the dead forest and the molten tongue is inviting disaster, so it is not a path many Vagrai would risk. And of course, if this fails, you're out of alternatives. Do you think Narbo would help us out? The old scavenger was never famous for his goodwill, Javik wonders. When text in an event is highlighted pale blue, that means you found a codex entry. Clicking these up in the codex entry to navigate to the entry. So I just kind of got a bit ahead of myself. The codex is a collection of entries you find throughout your travels. Entries contain information about the world and its inhabitants. When you have run read entries, the crystal on the cover of the closed codex emanates light. Entries are displayed in a list on the left. You can search entries and filter them by category using the button on the top. Unread entries are marked by a blue icon and appear on top, while already read entries have a gold icon. The text of the selected entry appears on the right. Information in the codex is supplementary. It is there for those who wish to learn more about the Riven Realms. So there are 224 entries in this codex. Truly a deep game. So one can only hope. I haven't seen him in years, but we always did good business. That said, you were not sure he would remember you if he was alive at all. If he is not willing, we must find a way to compel him. I think we're going to keep choosing the first one. I'm sure such sleazy bastards as Narbo would remember all the business that they've ever done, Vagrus. Javik rubs his chin absent-mindedly. You have seen this expression of his too often not to realize he's using his sorcerer's talent to read your mind. Taking a peek, get out of my head, you know the rules. Apologies, Javik rubs his eyes quickly and looks away. You know how it is. It comes to me so naturally that sometimes I don't notice I'm even doing it. Your thoughts are loud, Vagrus. I actually have to block them, you see. After joining your Comitatus 6 years ago, Javik proved to be an invaluable asset. Not only does he sense moods and thoughts around him, but he is also able to subtly manipulate others when he focuses his inner energies. It comes in handy when doing business. Then there are his other perks. A few times you saw him shatter the minds of men and beasts who tried to kill him. Okay then. Not a pretty sight, but a pretty effective deterrence. Yet, because he is not a trained sorcerer, at least not in the traditional sense, his abilities are sometimes difficult to control. You have become accustomed to his impromptu thought scans, while others find it less bearable to be around him. For this reason, he has kept his abilities a secret for many years overall, but you cannot keep a secret such as this for long in the close-knit community of Comitatus, especially not if you keep bursting minds and knowing things you shouldn't. So there are only a handful of your Colmasts who put up with being near him for any length of time. But even so, he has not probed your mind in years, certainly not on purpose, but neither by accident. Perhaps he is less in control now, which suggests he is more on edge about this whole trip than he lets on. Apology accepted. You managed a framed smile. Let us return to the others and push on. There is still a day's travel ahead of us. Both of you head west to join the column.
As we were coming up to the gates of Scrap Heap, this trash pile town of cutthroats and scavengers, we could see the vast mountain ranges of shattered Bivandar Thar looming ominously over the horizon, half shrouded in the gaseous vapors belched forth by the volcanoes in the far west. My companions prepared to do their business in town as fast as they could, not wishing to tarry in this notorious place.
When a comitatus enters a settlement, you can select from a variety of options, such as each on its separate pane, revolving around resting, resupplying, and trading. You also have the opportunity to initiate stories located in the settlement. So the market, the Mancio, the factions, and the leave settlement button. This time only the story pane is active. Follow the only available story. At the foot of the ever-fuming mountains of the ancient dwarven kingdom lies Scrap Heap, the town of Scavengers. Scavengers? Debris and junk is piled into veritable hills, upon which the rickety hill homes of the decrepit inhabitants stand precariously. Ash lingers everywhere, and the sun is almost always absent for the twilight skies. Deals are struck day and night over the precious metal scraps gathered in the ruins of nearby Devendar Thar, while the Heap King oversees all from his dreaded tower. Shady eyes and soot-covered faces watch from under ash-laden awning. Life is cheaper than iron here, some say. We have to track down Narbo. You make your way to the Wraith's Sash, a notorious watering hole tucked away in a small street just beneath the imposing tower of the Heap King, but not quite under its immense shadow. Few frequent the establishment, which makes it perfect for Narbo and his little operation of honest merchants. Apparently the knave is not only alive, but has also done well for himself in the past decade or so. Taking on the Javik, you lead the comitatus to the care of Titus, your quartermaster, while you were gone negotiating. Ash is flitting from the black sky as you cross the streets and nod to the bouncer of the Wraith's Stash. You give him your sidearms quietly. Rules are rules, at least as long as they can enforce them. Yet they have the courtesy of allowing you to keep your dagger, and of course they have no idea what Javik is capable of should it come to a scuffle. Not that you expect much such a thing, but with Narvo, no one ever knows. So you have told your crew that he and you go way back. The entrepreneur is a capricious and manipulative man with whom you did not part on the best of terms. Does he remember that? Surely. Could he be persuaded to take your proposal? Who knows? Your eyes slowly adjust to the dimness of the tavern's interior. Only a few candles on a lamp at the bar illuminate the common room. Shadowy four faces turn toward you and observe you through the smoke. The bartender, a thick-set man in a dirty tunic, is chewing tobacco serenely. Above the bar hangs the skeleton of a large heap lizard on display. Narbo is sitting at a table in the back, his bodyguard half hidden in the darkness at the wall behind him. Walked over to the bar. The bartender stifles a belch and nods his greeting. Sounds like Rick Sanchez. What can I do you for? The way he grabs an earthenware mug suggests that it would probably be best to order something. You glance at Javik briefly before paying for 2 rounds of a local mushroom brew called Ash Tongue. It is somewhat less loathsome than you could imagine. Leaning over your drink, you quietly tell the barman that you are here to see Narbo. Are you now? He's doing calculations and you don't like to bother when he's doing calculations. He indicated Narbo at the corner table with a nod. The entrepreneur is indeed busy poring over a stack of papers and fiddling with the calculus. Wait until he's done with his papers. At least you can finish your beer. You chat with the bartender while sipping your beer. Much of it is boring small talk, but when the conversation turns to a discussion of local prices, you notice Javik's stern expression and the small hand gesture he makes. This is a signal you two have been using for a long time now, indicating that he's gleaned something from the man's surface stall. When minutes later the bartender goes to the back to check on the kitchen, Javik leans closer. Apparently there's a supplier of meat and mushrooms that has a surplus on his hands he wants to get rid of quickly. You can't help but smile and nod. This could save you quite a lot of coin. Also, your friend Narbo seems to be having trouble with a package. In his mind, there's a constant frustration in connection to the Heap King. You nod to Javik and notice how the sleazy merchant has stopped fiddling with the calculus and is now looking at some papers listlessly. It is time. Oh boy. Oh, there's cursing. We're not going to read that. We're not going to read the cursing. Try and keep it family-friendly right here. The entrepreneur looks up from a stack of papers in front of him and rubs his eyes. Narbo is a corpulent man with a bushy dark beard and a few missing teeth. Part of his face is covered in scars similar to those left by old Burn. That coupled with a withered and mutated left arm that hangs limply at his side is a clear indication of the taint. Drama. The merchant wears a leather jerkin studded with small bronze and bone coin, a sign of wealth and boldness. His bodyguard, a lithe man with tribal tattoos and an outfit made of leather, moves his hand calmly to a spear that leans against the walls. Nervo's mouth falls open as the spark of recognition flares up in his eyes. No wonder, it's been 10 years. The heck, mate, he blinks. I thought you croaked. people. Narbo waves his good hand around and looks at his bodyguard. Told tales of your demise. The man finishes his sentence for him as the merchant nods vehemently. That business with Karnak outpost in the storm, Narbo adds. You tell him that you were indeed at Karnak when the terrible arcane storm struck. You describe the horrors of that night briefly. You add how many of your original combatants died there, close friends, old traveling companion. But you won't away unscathed. This was years ago. Sheesh, that effer. Eurofons looked after just something fierce, eh? Narbo chuckles heartily, but I'm sure you haven't come to reminisce about good old times, huh? His predatory smile makes you cautious, even though he invites you to sit down with a casual wave of his meaty hand. I'll get down to business right away. Actually, no, let's apologize. This might help us later. Far as I can tell, you never did anything against me, eh? Narbo shrugged with a wry smile. Of course, you could have sent someone to warn us. The bodyguard finished the sentence. Back when Narbo and you parted ways, Avernum Collegium was hot on your trail. What's Collegium? Traditional Imperial Association had to deal with its own rules, rights, and obligations. Okay. They got offended by how you two outplayed them by smuggling in a shipment of exotic spices without their knowledge, selling it to a local nobleman's merchant house. You look at Narbo and tell them there's no way of warning him or even knowing where he was after the chaos you unleashed following the heights in Avernum. You had to get your crew out of there. So you did. The merchant is fiddling thoughtfully with a sack of papers while listening to you. I appreciate you coming clean even if this sorry business was so many years ago, he says after a long pause. The bodyguard becomes visibly less tense, but something tells me that all we came for still, so what is it? Some choices have dependencies, meaning you can only pick a certain choice if you have the right prerequisite. Perks, companions, resources, journal entries, and so on. Some choices involve tests that can be failed or succeed with different consequences. Perks, characters, and resources can change the chance of success in tests. Test difficulty is represented by a number between 1 and 100. You need to roll equal to or below. It's kind of like Terra Invicta in a way. Let's close that down. I can, yeah. Explain to Narbo how you want him to give you a discount on a shipment of metal scraps, which you would then smuggle into Devin through contacts you have in the city's underworld. The profit on the shipment will be quite exquisite. You do not name your contact, but divulge enough of her that the plan looks solid. Buyers, you say, are lining up, expecting the shipment soon. Narbo sits in silence, eyes fixed on the table as if listening to some noise from afar. He does not cut you off at any time during your proposition. At length, after you were done, he looks up and gives you a weak smile. That sounds like you've been thinking a long time about it, he says as he shifts in his chair. And it's a great plan, except for the fact before where I give you a discount for your skin and not much else. And I don't do that, mate. It will make me what? An almoner? The bodyguard adds discreetly. Not a word. Narbo looks at him. When the man nods, he turns back to you. I, an almoner. See, I'm no almoner. You gotta do what you gotta do better than that. What you got for me? Let's do the moderate chance of success. Or reveal that you're in a bad spot. Suppose you don't plan on croaking just so I can collect on said debt. Narbo's chuckle returns into a short, wheezing cough. Well, I know young man to be of your word, and we used to run together, so I know you're good. But just to be clear, you do owe me for this, and I'll collect. I'll collect right now, in fact. You headed to Devin by way of Avernum, aye? When you nod, Narbo leans closer and signals his bodyguard. The man with the dreadlocks steps closer and carefully produces a small pack beneath his leather jerkin, then puts it into the merchant's palm. This here little fella is mighty important to me. See, if you take this out to the city and deliver it to my associate in Avernum, we're even. You get your discount scrap from me. The merchant offers you the package. Javik draws in a breath, but before he can speak, Narbo interrupts him. And before pretty boy your ass, no, I won't tell you what's in it, and don't even think about opening the package. What I can say, it isn't dangerous to you itself, but you might want to keep it hidden from the dang militia of old crap heap. You take the package. The way Narbo glares at you makes it clear that you have no other choice. This might be the opportunity you had hoped for. The package is small enough to fit in your palm. It feels very light and is wrapped in fine leather. You pocket it before briefly observing it. You'll be looking for a man named Skornar in Avernum. It ain't to be trifled with either. Just tell him I sent you and you'll be fine. So basically, don't ask questions and you'll be fine. But I want to ask questions. You know, I love to ask questions. You can find him or his men in Levinus' watering hole, but most of the time, give this little fellow to him and to him only. Understand? After you assure him you do, Narbo instructs you to give him an hour. Then look for his people at the market and simply introduce yourself. They will know what price they should give you on the metal scraps by then. He motions to the man. You and Javik stand up and make ready to leave. Ravure will take you to the back exit. We don't want to give people the idea they can come here to beg for almond, you know, do we? Or to anyone to connect to us and run to the militia for that matter. Your journal located in the bottom left is now active. It is your means to follow stories and tasks. Open your journal out by clicking the book in the bottom left corner. How do I... What? Oh, that's the journal. Okay. The journal allows you to keep your quests, tasks, and other related information. You can search for entries and filter them on the top left. Entries are separated into objectives and qualities into their respective pane. Objectives are your quests and ongoing stories, and tasks are non-narrative missions and goals you can complete for reward. There are several types, like trade opportunities or mercenary work, but in Pilgrims of the Wasteland you can only find passengers here. Passengers have to be taken to their destination, where they will compensate you for your trouble. Be careful, because sometimes passengers will leave if you take too long to get to your destination. Qualities can be statuses, gather information, secrets, and so on. Unread entries have a blue exclamation mark icon and appear on top, whilst already read entries are marked by a gold circle icon. The market pane is now active. Okay. Purchase 20. We're gonna kind of. I want to get to a little bit of the gameplay, so we're gonna kind of speed through these a little bit. So, buy or sell one increment only by clicking the buy or sell button next to the list of goods. Holding shift will buy a whole stack. Drag and drop for buying or selling stacks of goods. And holding shift and clicking the icon opens the windows where you can specify the quantity you wish to buy or sell. Purchase 24 scrap metal, to all of it. And additional supplies to have at least 800 units. We have 500, 700, so we need 100. So we need to purchase the awning equipment from the market. Okay. Equipment you own are in a pool below the Comitatus illustration. In order to gain your bonuses, you need to equip them first by dragging and dropping them into the appropriate slot. So this needs to go into the miscellaneous slot. Right? Equipment can harnesses. Where's the harness? Okay. Items the third type of cargo do not take up cargo space and are not equipable. They are used and traded in certain events. You can switch panes at a settlement, and the active pane will open the corresponding pane of the Comitatus management. On the left, you can now freely check the settlement tabs. When you're done exploring, click on the exit arrow to leave Scrap Heap. Packed up or stocked on supplies, and wish with all your business here concluded, you finally make ready to leave the decrepit town of Scrap Heap behind in the morning. You set out at dawn, ashes fleeing from the sky, and the distant mountains rumble ominously in the morning twilight as your Comitatus reaches the west gate of the town. You notice almost immediately the militia at the gate is questioning and infecting travelers. You realize that even if they are looking for the package Narbo gave you, there is a minuscule chance of finding it among several departing caravans, all made up of dozens of people, respectively. Besides, the packet is tiny, well hidden at the bottom of a stack of dried mushrooms. Rogue Magistrate of the Heap King appears to coordinate the search effort, picking out people or even a whole traveling group for inspection. As your Comitatus drives near, it takes only a passing glance from him to check you and your crew, before he motions the guard to let you through. The Comitatus is well on its way, and Scrap Heap is a mere dot on the horizon by the time Javik joins you at the front of the line. Just like I said, you made the right choice with this venture. Talk of how you may have saved us all by spreading like wildfire. He may have said this with a faint smile. Of course, we do have to make it allied to Devon, It's Carvo, but it is a good start, don't you think? Agreed, there may be hope left for the Comitas after all. Well, I'm sure it'll be fine. It's not like we started this business yesterday. With that, we could both go back to your duties and constant monitoring the horizon. If all goes well, you can reach the wound in a few days, where you can turn south along the edge of the Molten Tongue and travel down to Avernum. +3 morale and an achievement, the second chance. Your progress is saved at checkpoints whenever you leave a settlement. So we've saved. This is a good point to wrap up the video. I'd say whenever you leave a settlement, reach a story-related checkpoint is at the start of each in-game day. Your game is set automatically, overriding the priest's autosave. Manual saving is unavailable in the standalone story. In the open world main campaign, you can save manually in the game menu F10 or escape, except you're in combat and events. You can load your save games in the load menu, hold space. Okay, so we're going to wrap up here.
There they were, with a full cargo hold and filled with newfound hope. Yet, the road ahead still promised hardships and peril. I travelled with them southwards, expecting to reach more habitable lands beyond the Molten Tongue's river of lava.
So we're going to wrap up here. F10? Yep. So that's going to do it. I really enjoy this. We'll come back to this, probably the live stream game. When we have more time and more long-form thing to do. Yeah, we'll be playing this on the live stream, but for now, it's going to do it. Go check it out. I do recommend this if you are into these types of games. But for now, it's going to do it. Like, subscribe, favorite, turn on notification, and I'll see you next time.